friends, Amanda here. Welcome back to Handmade No Hallmark. Today I've got this really dramatic, fun village scene using some dyes from Hello Bluebird and my Oxide inks. I love the way that this turned out. I love the blues and I love the whites together. I think it's really dramatic and really cool. I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. First thing I wanted to do is I wanted to get my background ink blended first so I had an opportunity to dry before I started assembling my card. I didn't have to ink blend the entire panel. I only needed to ink blend just a portion because most of it will be covered up by all the hillsides and the little houses. I'm starting out with some faded jeans. This is the first time I've used this color, even though I've had it forever, and I just think it is a beautiful color. I really am surprised I haven't used it, and I just love the way that it looks here with some chipped sapphire. I'm just going for a nice night scene. As you guys know, for my holiday cards, I love creating nice wintry skies with lots of snow and stars, all sorts of things. So I'm going to go in and ink blend those two colors, then I'm going to come in with some black soot. You're not really going to see the faded jeans. You're mostly going to see the black soot and the chipped sapphire. So I didn't necessarily have to do all this blending, but I just wanted to make sure that I had enough blended because I wasn't 100% sure exactly where I was going to place my hillsides and all of that. So I wanted to just make sure I covered my bases so I didn't have to go back and re-ink up. Once I had all the ink blending done, I went in with some of my homemade shimmer spray. This is just water and perfect pearl powder inside of a little Tim Holtz spritzer, and I just spritzed it on my background, and I'm going to hit it with my heat gun a little bit here just to help along the process of the drying so I can move on and add some white gouache splatters, which is another one of my favorite techniques to do for winter skies. You could interpret it as being stars or snow. I kind of see it as both. So you could do it any way that you like. This is just some white gouache from Winsor & Newton. I'm just going to wet it down and take one of my paintbrushes, and I'm going to tap it on my ink pad here to get some nice splatters. Again, you won't see the majority of this panel because it will be covered up, but again, I just wanted to make sure I had enough sky. Once I had all that finished, I'm going to set that panel off to the side to dry, and I'm going to clean up my mess. Now, I must not have turned on my screen, my camera, or whichever, but I didn't get the ink blending of my little snow hills that I created. I just die cut 3 snowy stitched hillsides from some dies from my stash, and I just ink blended them lightly with some tumbled glass distress oxide inks, and I'm gonna layer them up here. So you'll see those come on screen here, and I apologize I didn't get those on film. I'm not sure what happened. I must have been distracted and I didn't get my camera turned on. So here's those panels, and I just ink blended them, you know, so that they had a little bit of white in them. I didn't want them to be all blue, but I wanted it to be blue enough that when I put my little houses on, they didn't blend into it. And I'm just going to adhere these down as well to my background. And if you hear some noises, it's my dogs. They're playing with toys and chewing on bones in the background, so I do apologize for that. I'm going to adhere those down with some liquid glue, and I'm just going to trim off the excess along the side here. And I'm not adding a whole lot of dimension to this card. This card could easily be turned into a shaker card. I personally didn't want to put it into a shaker card just because I felt like a lot of the shaker material would have gotten stuck on the houses and those sorts of things, but you could easily turn it into a shaker card if you wanted. Again, just getting all of those little hills lined up, making sure that I have enough space in between each of them to place the houses. And get that last one adhered. I love all these blues. I'm kind of in like a thought process of doing lots of blues for Christmas this year. I'm more of a traditionalist. I love seeing the traditional Christmas colors of red and green and like the golds and the silvers. But for some reason, I've been really kind of loving the blues and the reds together. I really think they look nice. So here's all of my little houses. I die cut them using the Hello Bluebird Village die set, and I die cut them all just from plain white cardstock. Now you could do this same technique and do like colored houses, which I think would be really cute, like rainbow houses. And I am going to speed up this process because it took me, I'm not going to say a huge amount of time to kind of
figure out where I wanted them. I had an idea in my head on where I wanted them. I know I wanted the church kind of at the top, and I wanted to kind of filter in the houses, and I didn't want real big ones next to each other, and then I wanted to add the little trees and the lampposts. So I had an idea in my head of what I was going for. So I wasn't kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And the little moon, I just took one of the smallest circle dies from my stash and die cut that little moon shape. And I'm just going to go along and I'm going to attach the houses using some liquid adhesive. And then I'm also going to attach some of the trees in that using foam tape. So again, I'm going to speed this process up a bit. There's nothing really super groundbreaking here. I'm just adhering the houses where I feel like they would look the nicest. And I really think they look cute. I wasn't too concerned about, so sorry about the squeaky dog toy. He's having a blast with this toy. He's not usually this kind of active. He's really enjoying it. But anyway, if you wanted to, you could put a backer piece on all these little houses to cover up the windows so you couldn't see through them. I wasn't really that concerned about it. I just decided to leave them be. And I kind of like it, but if you wanted to take the time to do that, you could do that as well. Next, I'm going in and adding some of the trees and the lamp posts, and I'm just kind of filling in this little village. I'm going to pop some of them up with foam tape. I'm going to adhere a few down with that same liquid glue, and I just love the way that this turned out. I was really inspired by a card that Maureen Simon did over at her channel. I'll link to that video up in the iCard, so if you wanted to see where I got my inspiration from, she did like a circular window scene, which I thought was really cool. So this is where you could easily adapt this card into a shaker card. I wanted somewhere to put a greeting, but I didn't want to actually put it on, like stamp it on, and I probably could have gotten away with doing some heat embossing instead of doing the clear acetate, but I wanted it to make it look like there was kind of some snowflakes falling down and like the greeting was kind of floating. I could have put more snowflakes on to give it more of a dramatic feel, but I just went through my stash and I found some smaller snowflakes that I really liked, and I'm gonna stamp them down as well as my greeting, using some Stazon cotton white ink. And that is a nice ink that you can use to stamp on anything that has like a slick surface. And I really wanted to try it out. I have had it for a while and I haven't actually used it. And hindsight, you can see the greeting. It's there, but it doesn't stand out as much as I would have liked. The clear plastic that I'm using is the Judikins embossable window plastic. So I probably could have embossed the greeting in like a silver, which I think would have looked probably a little bit better. And then the little frame is just a thin frame from Fawn frame die. And so again, you could turn this into a shaker card if you were feeling up to that. I just wanted to have like the greeting kind of floating in a way. I was trying to do something a little bit different. I think next time what I might do is just heat emboss it with some silver embossing powder. I think that would look really nice and it would stand out just a little bit more. But I'm just going to go through and finish up adding some more snowflakes to this panel. And to clean off my ink, I'm just using the Stazon stamp cleaner. It worked out just fine. I know some people have some issues getting their stamps clean after they use the Stazon ink, but I think if you clean it right away when you're done using it, I think it doesn't hurt your stamps or anything like that. I didn't have any issues, because after I was done stamping, I cleaned it off, used it, all those things. I'm going to add a few more snowflakes here. Again, I probably would have added a little bit more just to give it a little bit more of like a actually snowy scene. But again, this part is completely optional. You could just heat emboss your greeting at the very bottom of your little snowy hills, attach it to a card base, and you're done. But again, I was just trying to be a little bit extra. And I do like the way that it looks. It looks like it's kind of like a picture frame. Like it's a framed up little scene inside of a frame that you can hang up. I think that's kind of what I was going for here. I'm gonna go ahead and put a couple more snowflakes in here, and then I'm just gonna adhere it down to the actual frame with some thin score tape. It's one of my favorite kind of tapes to use with any kind of like acetate windows or anything like that. I really like using it because it adheres really nice with any kind of like slick surface or clear plastic, and I know that it's not going to go anywhere. So I've already kind of put the score tape around the edge of my little frame here, and I was having a hard time getting it off. Sometimes I've noticed that if you don't press it in really well to the cardstock the first time, really burnish it down, the backer paper doesn't like to come off very well. But I eventually did get it to come off. I just used a little bit of a pick tool to help me kind of get it off of the backer here, or I used my scissors. Anything with kind of like a point that you can get up underneath that release paper, and you'll do just fine. And I very carefully adhered my little plastic piece here, and I always have a hard time getting it on nice and straight. I always kind of miss the mark on that, so I probably should have just used my MISTI. I use it a lot when I'm trying to line things up. I just put it in the MISTI up in the corner, and it holds everything kind of in place, and I can get it all lined up nice and straight. So you can see here I have to do a little bit of trimming of the plastic because I didn't get it quite centered on there. And then I'm just going to wipe off my acetate because I think there might have been a few bits of just clinging to it because it is that plastic. So again, I'm going to use some Darice 3M foam strips to pop up my panel. I wanted it to kind of look like it was a framed photograph, and I wanted the snowflakes and the greetings to kind of look like they were floating in the air almost. And I think it helps the greeting stand out a little bit more with it popped up because it creates kind of a shadow underneath and makes it a little easier to see. And again, this is where you could turn it into that shaker, which I probably could have done that if I would have gotten like maybe some glitter. I'm not a glitter person, but if you would have taken maybe some of that really nice fine white glitter, because then it would have like settled on the houses and then the windows and stuff. I think now I kind of want to make it a shaker card. I want to recreate this card and make it into a shaker. I wanted to add just a little bit more sparkle on my card, so I took out some of my shimmery stars. I think these are from Darice. Again, I'll have everything linked in the description below of all the products that I used. I just want to add a little bit of sparkle up in the sky. I had thought about adding my favorite clay snowflakes, but I didn't want to add those. I just wanted to add a little bit of sparkle up in the sky, and these little stars are perfect for that. Gonna remove the release paper off of my foam strips here. And then I think I do pull out my MISTI here to help me line up this panel. There's a really super tip. I'm not 100% sure who I saw do this the first time, but I was like, that is totally genius. Why didn't, it's the perfect way to line everything up. You just pop it down inside your MISTI and push everything up in that corner, and it's perfectly adhered. Everything's lined up perfectly, which I think is great. And I'm going to adhere this to a top folding A2 sized card base. And I'm going to stamp a greeting on the inside of my card base as well. I'm going to take another greeting from that same stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it on the inside using some of that chipped sapphire. I'm using Faded Jeans distress inks. I love using distress inks to kind of match my inside greetings to my outside, especially if I've used them on the outside, and they're really beautiful to stamp with. There's so many colors that you can choose from. So I stamped down the Merry Christmas, and then I took a couple of the accessory snowflakes that come in that set, and I stamped them around the greeting just to add a little bit more interest in the inside. And that will finish up my card for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider hitting the like button. It lets YouTube know that you're enjoying the content that I'm bringing to you. And please consider hitting the subscribe button because it really does help out my channel and help me bring all this wonderful content to you. I hope you're enjoying the Christmas series so far this year. I am having a lot of fun with it. I've got so many more ideas coming your way, and I love how this scene turned out. I love the blues and the whites together. I think this would be a great piece for some home decor. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I can't wait to share with you the next cards I've got coming up. I'll see you again real soon. Bye! On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.